Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. This week joining us from the Netherlands is Ziryan Salayi. Hey Zyrian, welcome to the show.
Hey Vasco, great to be here.
So Zyrian is a Scrum Master, professional Scrum Trainer and organization coach with a passion for getting the most out of people and teams. His aim is to enable employees to be fully empowered and support self-organization in all areas within agile organizations. So Zyrian, that was a short intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Yeah, that's a funny story, Vasco, because it all started in around 2009, where I got to get familiar with agile. So we had our architect, and we were doing a lot of projects for our customers. And the architect said, "Ziryan, I heard about this thing called agile. Shall we try it?" So, yeah, I love to, because our project managers, our program managers, they're just not allowing us to connect with the customers, connect with this. So we're actually fed up. So we started an own Agile Tiger team. And we were doing Scrum, we were doing all kinds of things. And coincidentally, when I switched jobs, one of the managers of my new employee said, "Well, Ziryan, I think what you're doing, you're a Scrum Master." It's like, oh, so that is what it's called. It's called an Agile coach, a Scrum Master, and then it got all familiar. Like, what I love doing is enabling people, getting value while others do all the work and support them. I found that was my passion, and that's how I actually got in the whole Scrum Master and Agile business.
Absolutely, and very often for many of us, it is a vocation, like you said, right? Like you discovered that this was the thing I want to do. And as we start with this, I would call it a journey, because it really takes time to start to understand all of the details and the depth of the role. It's not an easy role in any way. And as we go through the journey, of course, sometimes we have some bumps, we have some highs, but we also have sometimes disturbing lows, and that's okay. Like, it's part of the journey, it's part of the learning. So today's Monday, Fail Monday here on the podcast, Zyrian. So we want to explore one of those stories, a story of a failure, something you tried but didn't really work out as you expected. Of course, we do this because we want to learn what you learned back then. But first, let's start with the story.
Yeah, and here the story about my biggest learnings are actually the ones which I thought I was already there. I was already a senior Scrum Master, and I have two stories to tell. So one of them was with one of my clients, and like many clients, we were shortage of Scrum Masters. So they came to me and they said, "Well, Ziryan, you're the most senior guy here, and you have over 10 years of experience. Can you support 3 teams?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do it. After all, I'm the most senior one. So let's do it." And then actually I kind of figured out that was not a good idea.
So what started hinting to you that you had taken perhaps a little bit too much?
Yeah, the thing is that my belief is that the team should be the center of the universe. So everything, all our processes should evolve around our teams to enable them to deliver value. And what happened is that one team came to me and said, "Well, Zyrian, the current daily Scrum doesn't work for us, so we want to reschedule it." And then I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And they asked me, "Yeah, but we want you to join as well." "All right, sure, no problem. I can support you." And then they adjusted their time on my availability. And that was also the same to change the rhythm of the sprint. It's like, Tuesday is the best for us. I was like, "Yeah, but Tuesday I'm helping out another team. Can we maybe do it on Wednesday?" Yeah, I think we can. And that was the moment where I thought, hey, now it's all evolving around me, while it should be evolving around enabling the Scrum team to self-organize. So that was a moment for me. And I also went back to the manager and said, well, I deeply respect the boundaries that we have here. But I think it's in the benefit of the Scrum team that I take 2 teams only and not 3. So let's figure out with the rest of the Scrum team, how we can manage this. And it was really an eye-opener for me that I thought, okay, the maturity of Scrum Master is not about how many teams you can help. Yeah, it feels great. Doesn't it feel great, Vasco, if somebody comes to you and tells you you're the most senior one and this is you can handle 3 teams, right?
Absolutely. It's ego stroking, right?
Ego stroking. Yeah. So that was my biggest learning. 2 teams maximum for me, at least, because that's when I can respect the time of the Scrum teams as well. I can support them.
You said something that I want to explore further. This idea of the team starting to arrange their ceremony and their cadence around the availability of the Scrum Master. So you talked about, okay, so you realized that they were changing how they worked because of me instead of me changing how I work because of them.
Yep.
Which I think is a great point and something that should give us reason to stop and think, like, is this the right thing to be doing at the moment? But one of the other things that came to mind, and I don't know how you felt in this particular case, but one of the things that comes to mind is that it takes a lot of work to be a Scrum Master that is not visible, right? Like the thinking, the reflecting, the setting up the retrospectives, the organizing one-on-one conversations, the involving the managers. Like all of that work is not really about delivering software. It's about enabling teams to deliver software, but it's work that needs to be done. And one of the things that came to my mind is that when you have more teams, even 2 teams, it is exponentially harder to do that, let's call it invisible Scrum Master work, right? Like it might be that all of the 3 teams have 1 manager. Okay, that's easier because you can just sit with 1 manager and talk about what's going on. But what if all the 3 teams have 3 product owners and 3 managers? And suddenly you find yourself with a calendar full of meetings and with no time to be there with the team, to listen to what they are going through, to listen to their challenges and to help them with that. What do you think about that, Zyrian?
Yeah, and that was exactly the case. And like you also said, well, maybe if they have the same manager, it becomes easy. And I found out that's actually, how do you say, an excuse to still do it. Well, even, and that's what I have noticed, because they all had the same manager, even if they have the same managers, all 3 teams are on different level, or have different needs and different problems that I need to face. So although it is the same manager, it is the same environment, still there is not enough time, like you mentioned. And so I found myself in trouble. Okay, how do I support the product owner, and which product owner do I support the most? Because eventually I am not the one who is in charge of the speed of the change. It's the Scrum team, the developers, the product owners, and of course I can influence it, but I shouldn't be I'm not dragging them, right? They decide what the pace is. And that's what I found out. Well, if you have so many commitments to the teams, that eventually I'm the one who is blocking their progress.
Yeah, setting the pace, indeed.
I'm setting the pace, and that shouldn't be. And like you mentioned, all the invisible things that we as Scrum Masters do, it's very difficult. So
yeah, and it's very time consuming. At the end, that's a very finite resource. So you said you had 2 stories for us. So I'm curious, what is the second story?
The second one is actually, I was working with a virtual team, and it was located in the Netherlands, in Portugal, and in the US. And all the sessions were great, the events were great, and all of a sudden the IT manager from the US calls me and said, "Okay, Zyrian, we need to have a talk." Like, okay, sure. We had our 2 weekly calls anyway. So what's up? And he said, "Yeah, Zyrian, I've heard some stuff that you're not around in the events and the meetings. I want you to be present at all the meetings." was like, huh? And I was immediately dragging back to, hey, let me teach you about Scrum and the role of Scrum Master. And then I thought, why is that? So not jumping into conclusions. And I told him, why is that? Why do you think that I need to be in all the events? And he said, yeah, Zyrian, because we have noticed, and the team has noticed, that when you are around in the events, although you don't say anything, the meetings go smoothly. The meetings go very, very well. And if you're not there, then it's all messed up and there's no focus, there's nothing. So I need you to be at all the events. And that was like the weirdest compliment I received.
Of course, when something like that comes, and I think it's a very good technique, what you just said, like instead of jumping into conclusions, rather go into curiosity mode and say, oh, that's interesting. Why do you think so?
Yeah.
And what I was thinking is, this manager is coming to you with a solution that they have thought about. Mm-hmm. And I think that for us, the Scrum Master, the big challenge is to figure out what is the problem that really needs to be addressed. And maybe in this particular case, I don't know, but maybe it was, lack of facilitation skills in some of the team members, like product owner or architect or tech lead or just in general. Or maybe it was the lack of ownership from the team regarding the events. Like, I don't know what the problem was, but as you ask that question with the curiosity mode on, you can explore, okay, so because it's something I've missed, right?
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, they wouldn't call you. You would already know about it, right?
Yeah.
So that I think is important, but it is important for us to go into understanding what are the real problems that we need to solve, because we can solve any problem, given enough time and attention, obviously, but we can solve any problem. But what we can't do is put a solution in place without understanding the problem, because we might be making things worse. Like in this case, you might be making the dependency from the team on you even worse, which would make the meetings when you're not there even worse than they were now.
Yeah, true. And what happens there? Because then I talked to the developers and the product owner. We had in a retrospective. I discussed with them, and what happens is that my assumption that, okay, I have shown you how you can do it, so now all of a sudden, you can do it by yourself. So I didn't put much attention in teaching them over and over and over again on how to do it. So I let go too soon. Can you imagine? Like, on the one hand, we want to help them self-organize, but then I was so focused on helping them self-organize that I let go too soon. That I didn't take them like, okay, so the next time let's do it together. Let's do it again together. Do you feel comfortable? So I didn't ask them the questions. Do you feel comfortable doing a refinement without me? So it was my own assumptions that I thought, okay, yeah, they're ready. I don't need to be there. So I can now focus on change management process or whatever process that's hindering their progress. So I didn't validate my assumptions that I thought, okay, they are now self-organized.
That was a great point, right? Like we can try our best, but at the end of the day, it's up to the team to say if they are ready, not up to us to say if they are ready.
Yeah, and again, this comes like there's this parallel between the two stories I have said. It's the team that decides the pace of change. It's not me as a Scrum Master. And although on different levels, like the first one, I was the bottleneck, and the second one, I was actually letting go too soon.
That's a great way to summarize these two stories. Thank you for sharing those stories with us, Zyrian.
Yeah, you're welcome, Vasco.
Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests helped their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.